Hello, this is Social Science Simplified, and welcome back to another YouTube video. And in today's video, I will be doing a 2024 election prediction for Sarah Palin, who's been back in the news recently. She is running for the open U.S. House seat in the state of Alaska, versus Joe Biden, who's the incumbent Democratic president. And that is what I will be going over in today's video. So to get right into the content, once again, I would appreciate if you guys did leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that. And turn those notifications on if you want to get notified whenever I post a video, which will be back to daily uploads. I know I've missed some uploads the past few days, but I'm trying to get back to daily uploads. I have been busy, but to get right into the content, starting off with the safe states for the Republican Party and their candidate, Sarah Palin. Once again, these predictions are purely hypothetical at this point. There is nothing to say that Sarah Palin will run for the GOP nomination in 2024. Obviously, it's likely that President Joe Biden does run for the Democratic nomination. But as of now, there's very little indication that Sarah Palin will seek the GOP nomination. This is purely a hypothetical situation where Sarah Palin would run against Joe Biden in 2024. So to start off with safe states for the Republican Party, obviously Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, North and South Dakota, even though I did those in opposite order, South and North Dakota. Nebraska's at-large electoral votes, Nebraska's 1st District, Nebraska's 3rd District, the state of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, I'm going to leave as a toss-up for right now. And then lastly, the state of Alaska would be safe for Sarah Palin, given that she is from the state of Alaska. And now moving on to the safe states for the Democratic Party. Actually, I'm sorry, Nebraska's 1st District, I'm leaving that as a toss-up for now. And now moving on to the safe states for the Democratic Party. Those would be Washington, Oregon, California, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine's 1st Congressional District's electoral vote. And then lastly, Colorado. And Colorado is interesting. Colorado voted for Hillary Clinton by around 5 points in 2016 and voted for Joe Biden by 13 points in 2020. That is an 8-point swing in 4 years. And given that Sarah Palin has often been compared to Trump, I believe that facing off against Joe Biden, she would push Colorado more towards the Democratic column, which would make Colorado a safe Democratic state for 2024, meaning Joe Biden would win it by around 15 points. He probably wouldn't win it by 20 points, but it would probably be around 15 points. And now moving on to the likely states for the Republican Party. And these are some ones that aren't going to be really necessarily competitive, but are just going to be under the 15-point margin of victory threshold for safe states. So that would be states like Kansas. Donald Trump won by nearly 15 points. I think Sarah Palin would win by around probably 14 to 14.5 points there. Another electoral vote would be Nebraska's 1st District, would be likely Republican. Some states that Obama won or came very close to winning in 2008, like Indiana and Missouri. He won Indiana in 2008 and lost Missouri by less than a point in 2008. Those would both be likely Republican states, not going to be very competitive, but Sarah Palin will not carry them by over 15 points. And then some states that have shifted more towards the GOP in recent election cycles, and those would be Ohio and then Maine's 2nd District electoral vote. Both won by Donald Trump in 2020 by likely margins. Sarah Palin would carry those states by likely margins in 2024. And now moving on to the likely states for the Democratic Party, and those would be New Mexico. It was a likely state in 2020 for Joe Biden. It would still be a likely state in 2024. And I realized that I neglected to categorize Hawaii as a safe Democratic state. Hawaii would be a safe Democratic state. Also, Minnesota would be a likely Democratic state. Joe Biden won by around 7 points in Minnesota in 2020. He would likely carry the state by a similar margin in 2024. Also, Maine's at-large electoral votes, the state of Virginia, Also, Washington, D.C. was once again safe Democratic. I forgot to categorize it. My apologies there. And then New Hampshire would also be likely Democratic, same as in 2020. Also for Virginia, likely Democratic, same as in 2020. And same with Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District. And now moving on to the lean Republican states. And South Carolina would be a likely Republican state in 2024. I've noticed that I'm missing quite a few of these here. But now moving on to the lean Republican states. And those would be the states of Iowa and Texas. Only 2 in this category. And Iowa has trended towards the GOP in recent election cycles. However, Joe Biden is surprisingly popular in Iowa, given that he lost there by 8 points in 2020. He lost the state of Iowa by 8 points in 2020. By around 8 points. I don't know if it was exactly 8 points, but it was around 8 points. It was a likely Republican state in 2020. However, since then, Joe Biden is only mildly disapproved of in the state. And I believe that while the state of Iowa would remain in the GOP column in 2024, I believe that it could get competitive and Sarah Palin would win it by around 2 to 5 points. Same with the state of Texas. The state of Texas has been trending towards the Democrats in recent election cycles. And I believe it would continue with this trend in 2024, especially with another Trump-like candidate such as Sarah Palin facing off against Joe Biden, who is more of a mainstream Democratic candidate. And now moving on to the lean Democratic states, and those would be the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, whoops, I made it a tilt state, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Nevada. Joe Biden won Michigan and Nevada by lean margins of victory in 2020. He would likely expand on those margins a little bit in 2024, facing off against Sarah Palin. However, he would not expand on them enough to win by over 5 points. And then in Pennsylvania, he won by around 1.5 points, which for my ratings would be under 2% is a tilt state, so he would expand his margin to a lean margin of victory, so over 2% in 2024 if he were to face off against Sarah Palin. And now moving on to the final group of states, the tilt states, and there's only one in the GOP column here, and that is the state of Florida. And Florida was won by a very slim margin of victory in 2016 by Donald Trump. However, he expanded that margin of victory to 3 points in 2020, making Florida a lean Republican state in 2020. However, I believe Joe Biden, having the incumbency advantage and facing off against Sarah Palin, would likely narrow Florida to a tilt margin of victory, meaning Sarah Palin would still carry the state of Florida. It would stay in GOP hands. However, I believe that it would get very competitive and Sarah Palin would win the state by under 2 points. And finally, moving on to the tilt states for the Democratic Party. And there will be 4 in this category. And those would be Wisconsin. Joe Biden won by under 1 point here in 2020. And it's very unlikely that he would be able to expand his margin of victory here enough to win by over 2 points in 2024. However, he would expand his margin of victory from 2020, as would be the trend in all of these Rust Belt states, I believe, given that he has the incumbency advantage and is also facing off against Sarah Palin, who ran as the running mate to John McCain in 2008 in his ill-fated campaign, which saw Michigan get carried by 17 points by the Democratic candidate. And all of these Rust Belt states be essentially strongholds for the Democratic Party in 2008. So I believe Joe Biden would expand on his margins of victory in the upper Rust Belt states, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and would also make Ohio more competitive, although not very competitive given Ohio's recent GOP trends. And then 3 more states to go. Arizona would be a tilt Democratic state. Once again, Joe Biden won it by a tilt margin of victory in 2020. And it would stay the same in 2024. Same with Georgia, and then only one flip here, and that would be the state of North Carolina would be tilt Democratic. North Carolina was won by President Barack Obama, or former President Barack Obama, in 2008 by a margin of victory that was under 1 point. And since then, it has gone back to the GOP. However, it has still stayed relatively competitive, and in 2016 and 2020, it was one of the most hotly contested battleground states. And I believe that in 2024, if Joe Biden were to face off against Sarah Palin, he would carry the state of North Carolina, albeit by a tilt margin of victory, which would be under 2 points. So to give the final results here, Sarah Palin would end up with 219 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 319 electoral votes, meaning that Joe Biden would expand on his electoral margin of victory from 2020. Instead of getting 306 electoral votes, which with the reapportionment would be 303 electoral votes, he will receive 319 electoral votes and will expand on his margins of victories in numerous states, whereas Sarah Palin will be defeated by Joe Biden, having only 219 electoral votes for Sarah Palin. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and have a great day. Thank you.